All right, good afternoon. Thank you guys for coming, and thank you so much. I know it's late. I know it's dinner time, and the bar is open, so thank you so much. I see some of you with your food and beer. Well done, well played. Every time I say Kerberos, you fellas have to drink. All right, we need more. Can we get a beer cart too, please? All right. Anyway, so I'm going to talk here about attacking Kerberos. How many of you, out of curiosity, were here the other day for Chris Campbell's talk? Okay, outstanding. My stuff should be completely different, so you can stay or leave, whatever. Let me give you a little backstory here. I'm Tim Medin. It's pronounced Medin unless you talk to Ed Scotus, Kevin Johnson, or Tim Tomes. That's how my family pronounces it. I do a number of things: blog, pen test, I teach for SANS. QR code here. This takes you to both the slides and the what do you call it? The code. It's also a social engineering test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Okay. All right. Just check it. So anyways, my slides are going to be up. If you want to check it out, the code is already up. The slides and code are both up, so feel free to check those out. Hit me up on Twitter if you have questions. I'm always available. Email as well. So Kerberos, how many of you are familiar? I mean, I want to walk around so much. How many of you are familiar with Kerberos? A little bit, right? So Kerberos, the primary definition to us as IT people, it's the protocol we use in the Microsoft world, right? We authenticate system to system. We talk to the domain controller in between. Also, it's the two-headed dog that guards the entrance to the underworld. It keeps the dead in and the living out. Kind of the same thing, right? As compared, that was a joke. You guys can laugh. I figured you guys would have had enough beer now. You'd be rolling. All right. Rough crowd. So let's go into a little bit. Thank you. A couple people got my jokes. All right, a little bit of an overview here. Damn mics. A little bit of an overview here. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of different steps. I like to do my talks in reverse. I'm very ADD. Like, you better show me funny things and cool things moving fast, or I'm going to take a nap. So I'm going to give you a quick overview here. So first what we're going to start off is we're going to crack some passwords. Now, cracking passwords is we've been doing that for a long time. The beauty here is we're going to be cracking passwords of remote service accounts without sending a packet to these remote services. Also, the services don't have to be accessible. Frankly, the system doesn't have to be online. After that, we'll do a little bit of a ticket rewriting, a little privilege escalation. So let's walk through the first piece here. I'm going to give you a quick overview. We'll walk through these couple of steps. We'll cross our fingers that the demos gods aren't angry. And then we'll walk through why exactly it works. So we're going to start off here at the very top. We're going to use SPN command. We're going to search for some of the accounts. We're going to request tickets for these remote services. We're going to pull them back with Mimikatz, extract them from RAM. Then we'll crack the tickets. So let's see how this is going to work. So here is my system. Let me start up Wireshark here real quick. Wireshark. I'm going to start a sniffer in the background. This is going to be for later. Oh, that's awesome. Hells yeah, demos. Okay, so demos are awesome so far. Let me escape out of here. And, all right, we have Shark of Wires. Okay. So I'm going to leave this packet capture running here through the first portion. I'm going to use a built-in klist command in Windows. So klist will list the existing Kerberos tickets. Let me alt-tab over here. Klist, we can see that we start off with a few tickets by default. So we see a lot of connections to, we have the KRB TGT. This is the Kerberos ticket granting ticket. We've got CIFs. It's a lot of things to the domain controller. We see DC01. DC01 is my domain controller. Medin.local is my domain. So we see a bunch of LDAP accounts. So I can purge those, klist, purge. Now if I do klist, list, and there are no longer any accounts. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to request a couple of tickets. So I'm going to take a look at our service account. So I'm going to look at the SPNs available within my environment. I'll zoom in here in just a second. So I'm going to use my set SPN. We're going to see some of the accounts. We'll come back to some of the details here in just a second. In this first piece, we're going to attack the web server. So I've got web 01, the associated account associated with the web service on web 01. Actually, that is the wrong spot. It is right here. So we've got on web 01 using the web service account. And I'll explain how that maps again in just a second. So let me use PowerShell at this point, and I'm going to request a ticket. So if we look back at my K-list, we can see that I do not have a ticket for the web server. I've got tickets for the domain controller at this point in time. I'm going to run these two commands, use K-list again, and now we can see that I have an additional ticket here for the web server. What we can do now is use Mimikatz and extract that ticket from RAM. Mimikatz, typing is hard. Kerberos list. And we're going to see a number of the tickets here. What I'm going to use is Kerberos :list/export. What this does is actually going to save all the tickets to disk. So if I look at my desktop demo, we can see here's my Kerberos tickets. At this point in time, I've got the ticket for the remote service account. What I can do now is I can now crack that ticket. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to use a tool that I wrote called Python TGS crack, TGS rep crack. I'm going to give it a word list, and I'm going to give it the name of the file. The file, if I remember correctly, started with a 1 tab. So we cracked it, and we can see that the remote service account for this system is password 1. So if we come back here, take a look. If I do an NS lookup for web 01, we can see that the host, the IP address is this. Go back to Wireshark at this point in time. ip.addr == paste this address and filter it. No packets to that service. Again, we'll address how that happens. So we've offline cracked the remote service account for the web server without sending a single packet. Cool? All right, now let's walk through why this works. You guys can see? Okay. So I like to wander, as you can see. This mic work okay? So now why does this work? So first, before we get into that, let's see when we would use this attack, because there's some confusion when I've described this to people. They say, oh, this is like the golden ticket attack. No, this is different. The golden ticket attack you're going to use once you've compromised the entire domain. You can only do golden ticket once you have the hash for the KBRTGT. This is much earlier. However, I do need an initial point of compromise. I need one system that I own. From there, I can query the domain controller and say, hey, give me all the SPNs. Hey, give me a ticket. And then I can do my attack from there. So it's a completely different point in time here. So I've written some tools here. We'll tell you some drama associated with that here very shortly. Why does this work? Well, in Kerberos, there's a shared secret. Everything relies on shared secrets. In Windows, there's only one. What is it? Oh my God, it's the MTLM hash, yes. Yeah, the only thing the domain controller knows that the end system is also going to know is going to be the password hash. So that's what's used everywhere for the shared secret. It's used for encryption. It's used for signing. So that means if we get the ticket, we can then take a password, hash it, use that to try to decrypt, and that's how we get the password. So let's back up here. Let's walk through the process for Kerberos. So I want to connect to a remote system. The first thing my system has to do is talk to the KDC, Key Distribution Center, which is also going to be the domain controller. It says, hey, in the future, I think I might want some tickets. We authenticate to the KDC. We send it a blob encrypted with my NTLM hash. The server also knows my NTLM hash, can decrypt it, sends a chunk of data back to me that I can decrypt with my NTLM hash. Again, that single shared secret. Now I have a TGT. That TGT is a ticket-granting ticket. It does me no good anywhere else except to the KDC. This is where the golden ticket attack comes in, where it rewrites the TGT. Not what I'm doing here, because I don't need the TGT password hash. So now I want to connect to a service. I've got the TGT. I send it to the KDC, the domain controller, and it says, oh, okay, I can decrypt this because I signed it with my hash. Looks good. Here's a ticket for you. Now, I'm going to get a ticket back. Ticket comes with two pieces. One, I can decrypt. So guess what it's encrypted with? My hash. One, the remote system can decrypt. Take a shot in the dark what that's encrypted with. We just saw it, right? Basically, that's the password hash for the remote system account. Then, we tear our ticket in half. We give the server, hey, here's this chunk of data. Normally, you're not going to have any clue what's in that ticket. Of course, if we can peek inside because we've decrypted it, we know. We send this blob over to the remote service. The remote service knows, hey, I can decrypt this. This stuff looks good. Now I can authenticate the user. And there's all sorts of goodies packed inside of this ticket here. It tells it all about me. Here, what's in the ticket we get back from the KDC? On my half, the piece that I keep, there's some details about me. How long is the ticket good for? Who is the account it's associated for? The remote system it's associated with. The encrypted blob that goes to the remote server. It contains the validity time, the session key. So that future communication will be encrypted between us using the session key. We'll no longer use our hashes. And we'll have some additional pack information in there as well that describes me and my user account. So let's take a look now at the SPNs. This is what is the mapping between some underlying AD account and the name of the service. Service principal name is what we call it. My system over here needs to talk to the mail server on Cliff. You guys watch Cheers, right? Oh, sweet. The joke went over well. Awesome. So my box needs to talk to the mail server on Cliff. It says, hey, KDC, I need to check some mail. Where are you checking mail? I'm checking it on Cliff. It looks in its database and says, oh, okay. Mail/Cliff is associated with the underlying Active Directory account of, in this case, mail service. Of course, we can name that whatever. It can be a computer account. It can be a user account. And we'll talk about the importance of each of those here in just a second. So it's going to find the mapping between it, and it's going to encrypt the ticket with the hash of the mail service account. So that when the packet goes to the remote service, it can now decrypt it because it knows its own hash. SPN formats. These SPNs are going to uniquely identify the service. Format is going to be service type and host name. Those two pieces are required. So we'll see oftentimes MSSQL/Medin.local. Sometimes you have to specify the port. SQL Server likes the port. Also, if you change it from a non-standard port, you're going to have to select that as well. We can also specify the DN if need be. Again, that's not very common. So how do we set these up in our environment? Well, some of these services will set it up automatically. We can do it manually with the set SPN command. Set SPN-S. I give the name of the SPN and the associated account. It'll add it to this little database here, so that when someone says, hey, I need to talk to the web server on server 1, who do I encrypt it with? I encrypt it with web service. Common service names. We've got some common service names here. We'll see terminal services, Exchange. We've got IMAP. We'll see a lot of LDAP. The one I find to be most interesting is usually going to be the SQL service, and we'll talk about why I find that one to be the most important here shortly. There's more names than just this, but these are the names you're going to most commonly see. Okay? So now we want to find accounts that are going to be likely to be crackable. Computer accounts are underlying to AD, the same as user accounts, for all intents and purposes. The difference is the password. A computer account password, sorry, not going to crack it. A user account password, probably. Well, I shouldn't say probably, but you've got a better chance. It means someone has created this account. And if someone has created the account, someone has created the password, and as we all know, if someone has created the password, it might suck. Right? And for me as a pen tester, always a good thing. So when I'm looking for the account to attack, I want to make sure I look for the OU that is not the computer OU. Now this can be all sorts of names. We could have like a client's direct OU. We could have a server's OU, remote users. This name is not going to be perfect. You can't just look for computers or users in your environment. This is an example. You're going to have to actually look at things. Sorry, you have to read. Okay, things happen. You know, reading's hard. It's okay. But we can use other tools where we can filter through this. Maybe PowerShell, or you can use Python, whatever. So in this case, I want to attack SQL Engine. I don't want to mess with Exchange Server because it's using the computer account and an underlying computer account, that password, infeasible for me to crack. This one, maybe. Much better chance than we have with the other one. Requesting tickets. Okay, there's some, PowerShell kung fu here. The long and the short of it, that requests a ticket. It says, KDC, I need to talk to this guy. Give me a ticket. It does not connect to the remote service, which may be important for us. We can stay stealthy. This is going to be incredibly stealthy. I'm requesting a single ticket. I'm not requesting piles of them. I'm requesting one. So in the DC, it's like, oh, hey, there's one person that's looking to authenticate to this thing. Okay, that'll blend in with every freaking buddy else. Now, who watches logs, right? Anybody enjoy watching logs? Oh, I've got some paint you can watch dry at my house if you want to, we can do that. We can also, if you want to be a little noisier, we can say, yeah, give me all the tickets. So I'm taking my set SPN, the -T means this is going to be my domain, because T stands for domain. My son's learning to read. He figured this one out.
It stands for realm.
Oh, realm. Right, realm. There is a -F. We can specify a different forest. The -Q is actually correct. Ironically, I typoed it. There's supposed to be a space there. Q stands for query. And I say */*, which means everything. I'm going to pipe that into select string. The long and the short of this is I'm going to look for every line that starts with CN, and I'm just going to grab the first account. There's no need for me to get a ticket to this and a ticket for this, because it's going to be encrypted for this with the same exact hash. So I'm grabbing each line and a row of context. I'm then stripping it and just grabbing the second line, requesting tickets for that remote service. We're good to go. Question?
Does the workstation that you're running set SPN on, does that have to be joined to the domain?
The question is, does this system need to be joined to the domain? Yes. Yes. So now, requesting tickets. As we saw a second ago, it doesn't matter if that other system is behind a firewall. In fact, if we take a look at the VMs I have running, here's my list of running VMs. The web server is up, but I can do the same exact thing if I kill that VM. I meant to have it paused earlier for more dramatic effect. It doesn't matter if that system is live. It doesn't matter if it's accessible. Frankly, that system could be offline. As long as that registration still exists in Active Directory, I'm golden. People don't clean stuff up. They might deprecate a server. They might use that server someplace else. But that SPN, people leave them around all the time. You got pretty pictures. I like pretty pictures. So now cracking. This is my cracker written in Python. I tried to optimize it for speed. I've been told I suck at it. Sorry. I tried to use the multi-threading module. I had somebody use it, and he said, oh, you know what's the optimal thread number? What? 1. Yeah, I suck. So anyway, needless to say, I'm working on a John module for this to make it quicker. I'll let John deal with it. Unfortunately, has anybody ever looked at John Ripper's documentation? Oh, God help you souls. There really is none. There's like a formats.h file that you sort of have to look in. You guys are like nodding. There's tissues if you're crying. It's okay. And the Kerberos libraries, equally as ugly. They like to keep a lot of state. I'm not the initial piece here. Normally in Kerberos, I get a TGT. I need to store the TGT, request more information. I don't want to do a lot of that, especially when I'm cracking, so I have to bypass some of the context it likes to have. Needless to say, I'm being a little whiny because I haven't finished it yet. Anyway, hopefully we'll get that finished here, and it'll be, run better on more than one thread. So we've cracked the hashes. Now what? The obvious thing is, well, I know where the hash came from. Let me log back into that box. Duh, that's easy. I have an account, maybe I can escalate, maybe I can use that account someplace else. Although, remember, this ticket is encrypted with the hash, and it's signed with the hash. I have the hash. I see a couple of you devious people thinking, oh yeah, it's on, it's game time. It means I can change this sucker, I can re-sign it, and re-encrypt it. It's exactly what we want to do. I've got a couple additional tools in here as well. I didn't quite know where to jam these in, so here. If you have a packet capture that has some of these TGS rep packets in it, you can use this additional tool to extract the TGS rep, the response from the domain controller, and my TGS rep crack will crack it just the same. So inside that response, here's the pack. The pack is the privilege attribute certificate. Try to say that, well, once, frankly. What does it contain? Everything. Who am I? My name is Tim, or TM. Let's go by my initials here. The log on time, log off time, kickoff time, password time, log on script, everything about me. This tells the server, here, you want to know everything about him? Here, congratulations, he's just been doxxed. So I can take a look inside here. This is enough for the remote system to learn everything about me. It doesn't need to ask the KDC or the domain controller for any additional information. So what can we do to that? We change it a little bit, but there's a little bit of a problem. There's 2 signatures. One signature is for the remote service, using the same hash we already have. Really not much use. I guess it's a little protection against some sort of data corruption, maybe. But we have the hash. We can fix that. The other one, that's a problem child. Guess what that one's signed with? Yeah, the KBR TGT account, a hash you're not going to get until you have full domain compromise. We want to do this a little bit sooner. Question? Is that pack ASN1? The pack is not. It is in ASS1. I don't know. They use this off-the-wall, weird encode. That's a joke. That's not really. I'm here all week. Be sure to tip your waiter. Everything else is ASN1. The pack is not. It's all sorts of arbitrariness. They use. I forget. There's a specific encoding they use. I'm just blanking on what it is. It's not ASN1. So we've got 2 signatures here. One we can forge. The other one, we're stuck. But wouldn't it be nice if the server didn't check the other one? Oh, sweet. It doesn't. It does sometimes, but not all the time. Yeah, I know. You guys are probably sitting here like, really? You're giving this talk? I could have come up with this. Yeah, you should have read the docs. I did. All right? Suck it. All right? Okay. So, the KDC, the service will sometimes ask the remote service to verify. Sometimes. There's a document here on when and why it will verify. The long and the short of it is, if the remote service runs as a service, and has the TCB permission, which is basically the act as part of the operating system. SQL Server does it. Unfortunately, Web does not. Web uses app pools. Web would be awesome for this. Oh, I would so love to be able to attack Web with this. Unfortunately, Web does not check. We can change the functionality so that it will always check. Congratulations. Good luck trying to enable that in your environment. Every connection to your SQL Server. Hold on a sec. I got to check something. Right? Connection to your SQL Server. Be right back. Let me talk to the KDC. Okay, here's your data. So it's going to be tough to actually be able to enable this feature. For us as pen testers, yay! For everybody else, ooh, sorry, sucks to be you. Right? So why is SQL Server fun? Well, it meets these criteria, which means it's not going to verify that second pack. Sorry, the second signature in the pack. In addition, SQL Server is a little bit special. SQL Server is smart. It knows, I can use an SPN, and I can set it up myself. Just let me. So there's like a 3-page document on setting the proper permissions on the SQL Server so that it can register its own SPN. The other option is to make it a domain admin. Guess which of the two is easier? Guess what a lot of blogs recommend? They're like, you can do this, or do this, and then later change it. Later is Latin for infinity, just in case you didn't know that. Also, SMB is a problem because SMB is going to use the computer account. Computer account, again, that hash we're not going to crack. It's not going to be feasible. Exchange, it's going to default to, that's going to say computer account. You can go in and change it, but the nice thing with SQL Server is during the install process, it says, what do you want me to run as? And I've talked to a lot of people in the environments that they've seen, the SQL Server account is oftentimes a member of domain admin. Which means I walk into an environment, I own a single box. Now, if you can't own a single box, keep trying, right? Just make a phone call, literally, and you'll own a box. That means after we own one system, we're offline cracking a domain administrator account in the environment. How often do you think that service account is going to be changed? Like never? Yeah, right. So the password is not going to be changed here. And of course, I mentioned HTTP, where we use some of the app pools. So I'm doing some additional research there so far. No luck. It's doing a lot of checking with the KDC. In addition, when it checks with the KDC, it uses a TCP net logon session. So it's not like you can inject arbitrary UDP packets or anything crazy. Not much fun for us as pen testers. So now let's do a little bit of a ticket rewriting demo. Now I scratched this out a little bit. So what we can do is, we've got our pack here. We can change some things about our pack. I can change my username, change my user RID. What user RID would I likely want to be? 500, as I shoot him in the eye with a laser. Group RID, I can change that, all sorts of fun stuff. So I went to the talk, the Kerberos talk the other day, and I was paranoid. I've been sitting on this talk and been shopping around to various cons for like a year, and no one's picked it up. And frankly, it's my own fault for not running better submissions. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, please, 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 don't release the same thing. Please, 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 please. He's done with this talk, and I'm excited. I'm like, yeah, we're good tomorrow. So my friend Anthony's speaking this morning. I'm like, I want to make his talk. I wake up, I roll over, turn on my phone. I'm like, oh crap, his talk's like starting like now. I need to hurry up and get over there. So I unlock my phone, and I see this. 9:06. Benjamin Depley, the Mimikatz guy, goes, hey, cool guys, I got a new tool for you. And I'm like, oh, well, there goes my day. Suck it, Saturday. So the next piece he's done, and I'll give him full credit. His is better, the second half. He doesn't do any cracking, so we've still got. I still have that. I still have something, but the rewriting piece, frankly, he's done it better. So I've dropped my part during the demo today because I want you to use what's practical here. So yeah, here's 9:06 a.m. It was 1 minute ago, and literally I had woken up, and it was the thing on my screen. I was like, really? This is how you wake me up Saturday? Screw it. So I mean, and he's a very nice guy. I tweeted him right away. I was like, hey, this is great stuff. Well done. I'm doing a talk on some of the same stuff today. He DM'd me. He's like, oh, dude, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, yeah, take a Saturday off, man. Right? So he's talking, and I'm testing the tool and playing with it. We found a bug. I've got the latest version. He's actually posted a new version. The new version on the site has a limitation. We'll talk about it in a second. He has posted a new version. It's just not on the GitHub site yet. As I'm interacting with him on some of the problems here, I'm like, I can't get this ticket to work. So I grab a list of my tickets, and I send him some, and I accidentally sent him this ticket. I sent him the KBR TGT to the writer of Golden Ticket. This is like, I don't know, 9:30. I'm like, it's not even double digits yet, and my day is going way downhill. So, yeah. Anyway, so here's the Mimikatz commands. So what we can do is, it actually uses the golden ticket, the golden ticket option within Mimikatz, but we use a couple of different options. So we've given it the domain. Domain's pretty obvious. The SID is going to be the domain portion of the SID. We can add groups. We need to tell it the remote service account, the remote target service. Basically, these two combined for the SPN. This is what's going to write to disk, and the hash. I've added a feature request to say, instead of giving it a hash, I want to give it a password. So that way it'll actually hash it for you. Now you have to go through an extra step here to generate the hash yourself. You can specify the remote ID and the remote username. There's a hidden option, this -PTT. -PTT will throw it right into RAM. So you don't have to write it to disk and then use the Kerberos ::PTT to load it into RAM. So now let's walk through this. I got permission from Benjamin. Again, super nice guy. Outstanding work from him. I thank him so much. All right, so let's go back over here. Quit without saving. So I've got my cracked account here. Now we can show you also, let me back up a little bit. We've got all the accounts. So I could request all the tickets. That's my quickly dumping all the tickets for the entire domain. We can then use Mimikatz to Kerberos. Hardest thing here today is typing. List/export. Then it writes them all to disk. We've got piles of them here. Of course, in a real domain, you're going to see way more than 13. And then we can send them into my cracking tool. Cracking tool, you can glob it. So you can say star.kirby. Why? Because I'm lazy and I want to make it easier for you guys too. So that's the quick backstory on the dumping all the tickets. Let's be a little bit more surgical here. We want to go after one account. klist purge. Purgy. It's French. It's not actually French. So then we could do Kerberos list. I should have nothing here. What I want to do now is request the one ticket for the SQL Server box. I'm going to show you first that I'm going to try to access my SQL Server, and I'm logging in as me. So my Medin domain, user is TM, here's the SQL Server, and it's going to say failed login. Wah, 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 right? But now, because what we can do is we can crack that service account. So I'm going to go back to Mimikatz. I'm going to do my list. I can see I've got my ticket here for the SQL service. I'm going to export these tickets. I'm going to go over to the command line here, and I'm going to use Python TGS rep crack. I'm going to give it my word list, and I believe that was the right file. Crack it, and I found the password for the remote service account. Remote service account password here is Phoenix1. What I can do now then is use that to recreate a new ticket. So I can find the hash for that. I can quickly calculate it with Python. I've already actually got it here in my example. Already cracked for you. So now we're back in Mimikatz. Now I'm going to generate my own ticket. I'm going to create a ticket. So if we zoom in here, we can see at the top we've got the domain, medin.local, my domain. The SID, that's the SID for the domain. There's the target service, Microsoft SQL service. The ticket, that's when we write to disk. I'm actually going to write it to disk as well as use PTT to jam it straight into RAM. Now by default, my group for the user account that I'm in is 513. 513, if we take a look here really quick, net user tm/domain. I'm just a member of domain users. I am not a domain administrator. Also, it should be noted, net local group administrators, I'm not a local admin. So this attack will work from any box that you've compromised. You do not have to get system privileges for any of this stuff to work. So my account here is, if you look here, I'm in group 513, ID is 1106, username is TM. Now, I found Bob's account, and what I want to do is I want to change this to be Bob's. Bob is 1159. Generated the ticket, threw it into RAM. So we'll come back now to SQL Server, hit connect. It says it's me, but remember we've told it that I am Bob. I have Bob's RID. So if I go to the databases now, it authenticated. If I go into the databases, Bob's secrets are now accessible. So I can... So here's a list of Bob's secrets. I love Idiocracy, best documentary in history. So we can do that. I'm going to kill my Kerberos purge. I'm going to kill my tickets. We can do that. It'd be kind of fun. But what if we changed it back to what was I before? 1106 was me, I think. What if I changed my group to 512? 512 is domain admins. So now we come back into SQL Server, authenticate, and now we have access to the plans for world domination, whereas before we did not. So I can see my secret plans here. We select the top 1,000 rows, and we get some more secret plans. Now that's kind of fun, but if you look at what the command we did, I used a real RID and a real username. What happens I wonder if your mom's on the network. Right? So your mom has been successfully submitted for the current session. Yeah, I'm sure she has. So let me start SQL Server. We're going to connect. Now it still says it's TM. This is because locally it's going to say, oh yeah, who are you? Yeah, you are who you are. So I can go up to new query here. Go back over here. Let me get my couple of commands. Paste it. This is going to give me the username and the SID. Execute. What I should see is your mom is now connected to the SQL Server. Try to forensics this. Who were you compromised by? If we look at the SID piece, the last 4 bytes are the RID, which is the last chunk of the SID. So if I can fire up PowerShell here, I can do convert to int 32. It was 0000270F, I believe, 9999. So that's the RID. All the logs, guess what they're going to show? That. If you look at the event viewer on the SQL server, you see this. So we can put all sorts of fun stuff in here. So we can come back to Mimikatz, create a ticket. What's fun here is we can start putting things that aren't going to be valid usernames. Let me close both of these really quick. And we say, I don't know, we can start putting JavaScript in here. We can start putting additional SQL statements. The ticket for select star from pwn has been successfully injected into RAM. Now if I go back to the SQL server, copy this, log in, new query, paste, execute. Which one thing you do have to do, I forgot, that's my mistake. SQL Server will cache the RID for some reason. So I need to come back here and change this to something else. I tell you that is a teachable moment. I made a mistake. Don't worry. It's okay, we have time. Let's try it again. New query, paste, execute. Now my username is select star from own. So we can put JavaScript in there, we could put probably arbitrary bytecode and all sorts of fun things within the name. So if it logs it in the database, it might be used other places in all sorts of funky ways. So we could then extend our reach maybe beyond this SQL server. Of course, if this SQL server is a domain admin, big problems. If they set it up right, well, by right I mean still getting the password wrong, we can use this to extend our reach. Question?
So from a forensic standpoint, who is doing that if you drop an XP command shell?
So the question is, who is doing this if I do XP command shell? It shows up as your mom. Yeah, and I can enable XP command shell because I'm domain administrator. I can turn XP command shell on and run it. Yeah. Your mom's a badass, dude. So, mitigations. Short answer, use good passwords. I mean, we've been saying this over and over again for, like, ever, right? Use good passwords. That's the long and the short of it. What you should really use in a Microsoft environment is they've got the 80 service accounts. They're a little bit more difficult to set up, but it is no question the right approach because it will automatically rotate the passwords for you. It's going to pick passwords that, frankly, are not going to be feasibly crackable. Use those. Pick a random password. Monitor your domain controller for a number of these 4769 events. These are the ticket requests. Now, if I'm surgical like I was with the SQL server, you're going to see one. Good luck. But if somebody dumps them all to crack them all, you're going to see a pile of them. That should start to light up some of your systems to say, there's no reason that this guy should be requesting like every ticket we own. Right? Bad news. We can also turn the pack verification on. That's not going to prevent the offline cracking. It will prevent the rewriting, not the cracking. It also has a significant potential to slow things down, so test this thoroughly before you use it in your environment.
If you put your SQL server on the domain controller, that verification will happen very quickly.
Well done. He says if you put your SQL server on the domain controller, yes, awesome. It'd be very quick. I think I've had a pen test like that once. At your mom's, huh? So, additional research would be some of the web stuff. At this point in time, the app pools abstract everything, so we can't get away with this. I would love to figure out some sort of bypass mechanism. I would also like to see some additional fuzzing. So if we could rewrite the usernames, what do we get out of it, et cetera. A couple of special thanks here to especially to Benjamin Depley for walking through me his new tools, new updates for his code. Nathan Keltner for some of the early research. Mick and Ethan for doing some initial testing for me. Carlos, John as well. So that is the end of my talk. Questions, please. Yes. The question is, any implications for multiple forests? I haven't thought about that, frankly. I don't think stealing the tickets would be any different because that set SPN command will allow you to grab the tickets from across the forest. The only difference, and I don't know how this works across the forest, whether that KBR TGT account is going to be different across forest. Of course, that's going to apply more to the golden ticket because we're hopefully trying to bypass that. Sorry. Questions? Dude in the back. Yes, so his question was, what does my script do? What it does is it takes a word, hashes it, tries to decrypt. If it's successful, we got the password. If it's not, password, hash, decrypt. Password, hash, decrypt, success, done.
So then, can you specify file hashes?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you specify the hashes? Absolutely. My tool as well as I'll take password hashes. My script does not take hashes, but that's a simple modification. It's not often that I would think that you would have hashes without having the passwords.
I'm just thinking a hash couldn't crack that you built from copy blocks.
Okay, but then in that case, you would so his question was, how would you have the hash? Well, maybe you would, I don't think you would be necessarily cracking at that point. You would try it for rewrite. If you try the rewrite with the wrong hash or password, it fails. So I don't have an automated way to try multiple hashes. Trivial to try to rewrite. Cool. Yes, sir? Does Microsoft have a response to the pack check-in? They have that document. Yeah. It's in that document where they say when we check it and basically why we check it. If they ask, probably ban you. I know I need a new shirt. Did you see Chris Campbell had a shirt, Mike Rasinovich banned me on Twitter? Challenge accepted. Oh. Yes?
Anyways to prevent someone from dumping every empty runs or a potential hash in your domain via any user?
Anyway, so to stop that dump, just a second ago, is there any way to stop that? No. I talked to Carlos Perez for quite a while yesterday. We tried to figure out a way. We don't know of a way that you can prevent that. You can request a number of tickets. The best thing at that point in time is try to detect. Prevention, there's not that capability at this point in time. You could probably shim your KDC and log a number of requests and then stop, but that seems terrifying.
Also, if you don't want Benjamin Depley to have that KDC thing, I think if you reset the password twice, that resets it. Is that correct?
Yeah, so his question is, if I don't want Benjamin Depley to have my KBR TGT actually reset it a couple of times, yeah, I'm just going to leave it. Challenge for him. It's a test environment. Can I put my original QR code up there? Yes, easiest question of the day. All right, any more questions? All right, thank you guys so much for coming. I greatly appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day and the 1 minute we have left.